Hey, Shabbat Shalom. How far do we go to extend sensitivity to our fellow human being? I'm asking this question because in this week's Torah reading, we have the 4 exemptions from military service, 4 reasons why a Jewish soldier can get out of fighting in the Jewish military. And the Parsha tells us the first of all is Rach Levav, someone who is faint-hearted, someone who is fearful of fighting, right? And that's obvious because if someone is very afraid of getting on the battlefield, it's only going to spread that fear to his comrades in arms, and that's not going to be good. But the Torah mentions 3 other categories as well, which are also mentioned in my 40-day challenge. Hope you're doing it. If not, you can sign up. And the Torah tells us first someone who built a home but hasn't lived in it yet, someone who planted a vineyard but hasn't redeemed it, and a man who became engaged to a woman but hasn't yet married her. Now, those are strange categories. I get somebody who's fearful to fight, because that fear can be spread amongst his comrades in arms. But what about these other 3 categories? And there are many different interpretations, but something I heard that's fascinating, and that is to save face and to be sensitive to the individual who is faint-hearted, who doesn't have the confidence to actually fight on the battlefield. We don't want him to be embarrassed. So people can now assume that maybe he built a house and hasn't lived in it yet. He became engaged to a woman but hasn't yet married. We can assume perhaps that there is these other 3 categories of exemptions from the military. Maybe he fits into one of those 3 categories, but if that was the only category, being faint-hearted, fearful of fighting, then we would know right away, and that person's embarrassment would not be preserved. That person's dignity would not be preserved. Now I'm sitting at this beautiful fake Shabbos table, even though it's my real Shabbos table, because that's the same reason why we cover the Challah. The other challahs, we cover the challah before we make kiddush on Friday night. Why? There's a halachic reason you're not supposed to pass up one mitzvah for the other, but the other reason we always give is we don't want to embarrass the bread, because you have these 2 mitzvot, and we're starting with the mitzvah of wine and ignoring the bread, so we cover the bread so it's not to be embarrassed. What does that mean? What it really means is that if we're going to be that sensitive to inanimate objects like our bread at the Shabbos table, then how much more so do we need to be concerned with the sensitivity of another person, right? This is the month of Elul. Whether you're doing the 40-day challenge or not, we're supposed to be using this month to become especially sensitive in our relationship with God vertically, in our relationship horizontally with our fellow human being. We cover the Challah to remember that every person's feelings count. And the Torah in this week's Parsha makes sure that we don't embarrass a person for not serving in the military, so we give other reasons as well. What can we do to increase our sensitivity to our fellow human being in this holy month of Elul? Shabbat Shalom.